Hi everyone, welcome back. Today, we inch ever closer to test day. Thank you all again for joining me and for going along on this journey with me. I greatly appreciate every single one of you that's subscribed, that's tried to help me spread the channel and awareness and sending me to your friends and family and other things. And I greatly appreciate every single one of you. I genuinely do. If you're new to the channel, welcome. We work on cars, mostly race cars, on an amateur level, fabrication, mechanic-y, design, engineering, and usually hurting myself. So there's all that to look forward to if you're new, but otherwise, I really wish that we had a lot more actual racing going on. But I mean, when we're kind of building a race car and we're in between trying to focus on next year, a little difficult. So anyway, we're back to work on the new car. As you can see, there's a little bit more paint on it than before because I definitely took yesterday to clean the shop up. It was a complete mess. It was disgusting. Wiped the car down, painted what wasn't painted yet, except for the parts that I still have to fabricate, which are right here on the front and all the way on the back, because in this episode, we got to get the body on. The body will entail the following: bumpers, front and rear, lower supports for the lower part of the body, upper supports for the nose, and anything else in between like hood pins or things of that nature. So hopefully we can find something to do with that. So I got to go outside. Luckily I haven't turned the air conditioning on, but I got to go outside, grab the pieces that I need or what I'm going to use, and start mocking them up on the car. Now for the nose and some panels, this car will have to go on ride height blocks again because there are minimum height rules on the body, and I got to make sure that this thing meets it. So whatever we set that to is what we're going to be setting the nose at, etc. Everything's going to have to follow suit through that. I believe there might be a bumper height rule. Don't quote me on that. So I'm going to go check the rules and make sure that's either a thing or not. So those are some things that we have to be conscious of. And once we figure all that out, well, it can start coming together. Well, unfortunately, all this stuff got left out by me in the weather. I didn't put any tarps over it, so I've got rust spots like that, and I've got just sconge and random bugs crawling all over it. So I got my degreaser out and an old towel, and I'm just going to clean them all off before we go throwing them back on the car. So what I'm going to do here is, since I got this down here for the quarters, I wiped them off. They look all right. They're raced. And then I got the rear bumper. I'm going to try to match it up to the same holes as what the body has on the quarter panel here. Clamp it into place, and then I'm going to try to slide the rear bumper, which is kind of hiding back here somewheres. I think you can see pieces of it. I'm going to have to cut some of it down probably. But I've got some square tubing that is sitting up here in a corner here that I'm going to cut little pieces out of and weld to the side of the chassis. And that'll be what holds the bumper on so that it can slide in and out. Obviously, I'm probably not going to bolt that in. I'll probably weld the bumper in because I don't want that going nowhere. And I don't plan on having that be an issue. So we'll clamp that on, get the bumper kind of slid up underneath, kind of mark where it needs to go with a pen, and then weld the bumper on. Then start putting the covers and quarters and everything else on. And that's how we're going to do this. As you notice, the bumper's on, but it's at an upward angle, which I kind of don't like, but I forgot that these Johnson frame cars, the rear frame goes all the way down to there. See, what I'm used to is these rear frame rails on factory cars don't actually survive long enough, or we cut them off behind the shock tower, and it's only a little bit, it's like down to here, and then, you know, we'll put a frame rail here. And maybe even the bars up a little higher. But this is like a factory car. It's way down. It's all the way down here. So I had to kind of angle it upwards, which I don't like. But at the same time, it's like, well, if you get into the wall, it'll help fold up and dissipate energy a lot easier. What I don't like is if somebody gets under my bumper, it's easier to lift the rear tires up. But I don't really have much choice unless I mount the bumper here, which is not possible. So that's in and completely welded, and it barely tucks under the dirty cover I forgot to clean. Now we're going to start riveting this in place and start laying in the quarters and start figuring out what to do with the body. Obviously, we still have to do a few things. Here's what we're going to do. We're going to build those 1x1 tubing square with the door on. We're going to put a piece down at the bottom. Yeah, I know they weigh a lot, but guess what? It's on the ground. It doesn't really matter. One out, all the way down, and then back to the frame to keep the door held out and to stop it from not only caving in, but ripping off. A lot of people will put like a piece of aluminum angle iron and adjustable strut rods on tabs and make it really lightweight, and then their door gets ripped off and they're out of the race because you can't pit at Stafford. So I build it for war, and what I do is I put that little frame at the bottom, and then I put 1/4-20s through the door with big fender washers, and we nut and bolt the whole door in as well as riveting it on. So it's a little bit doubly thick. So we also have to create a panel here for the top behind the door, and it's going to go like this and then have a big lip up, so that the door can either be riveted to it or it'll create a barrier for rubber and dirt and debris. So that's the plan. Let's get back to it. Now, I remember we had some clearance issues with this tire for whatever reason, even though the main greenhouse of the body is centered over not only the chassis, but the cage itself, because everything has to be square. It can't be offset. This fender just is not as far out as it needs to be, but that one is completely flush. So I'm thinking, and I'm sitting here just trying to figure out what I want to do. I'm thinking about maybe incorporating some kind of bracing system that pulls this out, because there's a lot I can get out of it if I round it up a little. And this is okay up towards the front, but back here, right in this corner, I'm going to need to do something right there. You see how it kind of evens out? So I don't know if heat would do it, because the sun will just melt it back into place. I might have to put some kind of an actual bracing system with like metal bracing. I don't know what to do yet. So we'll figure that out. But I also need to think about what I'm doing up here, because I'm going to slap the door on, but what's it fixed to? You know what I mean? This flimsy piece of dashboard, this flimsy roof. Do I make some kind of a brace that comes off of the door bar that, you know, just kind of comes out and holds the door on, but it needs to not be able to move up and down. So again, these are the things I got to think about. Then moving my way forward, what am I going to do here? Obviously, I have to build some kind of a brace here that holds not only the hood pins, but the front fenders on the top of the front fenders. So the front fenders are easy. I can do that one brace. Back here, like I said, not exactly as good. I don't want thing just to be tied into itself to that. I want it tied in the middle as well. So what I was thinking of doing is just maybe welding a piece of 1/2 inch with a plate. That way I got like body bracing, and maybe doing the same thing here. I'm not quite sure yet, because I don't want to mess with the tin work that's going to go in here either. So either way, we're going to have to figure something out. Maybe I'll put some kind of dual use brace just right here. That's a little bit thicker, and it takes the front edge of the door and the back edge of the fender, and it strengthens everything up. And then I can just tin in what I have to, put the lower brace in, the door will be good to go. So everything that I'm doing right now is essentially bracing. I think I'm going to bail out for tonight because it is still kind of early, but I got some other obligations going on Monday night. So I'm going to do that. I'm going to game plan a little bit more, and hopefully we can come up with some kind of a solution to this for tomorrow, and we can enact that. I have plenty of material above my head, and it's just a matter of doing it. But I don't know why, but I'm just really tired right now, and I just want to go kind of relax and do that, and I'll see you tomorrow. All right, next day. The agenda for today is going to be trying to mate the doors up to the quarters, and maybe even the fenders to the doors, so that we can figure out some way of getting it to at least stay in some sort of shape, and I can start building body brackets and mounts off of that. My goal is to at least have the sides on the car and this front bar so that it holds the nose and all that assembly on that, so that the front fenders and everything can be in one spot. Now, if I can get the sides and that done today, which is entirely possible, it's a few pop rivets to hold the door on. The doors and fenders have already been together at least once, right? Now, what we got to do, again, like I said, is in order for me to make this as easy as possible, I'm going to use those as a template for body mounts. The roof is on. They're connected to the quarter panels. The quarter panels are mounted. Therefore, if I just rivet the door in the existing spot, the fenders in the existing spot to the doors, makes sense in my mind, but we'll see if it makes sense to you as well. I'll just stop talking and get to work. Keep having to tell myself it'll look better once you start getting all the bracing done. Yeah, I know. It's just getting there first, and you gotta cook the whole meal before it becomes dinner. So what I gotta do now is I gotta actually, because I was informed of this by another racer, I have to apparently, even though it's not listed in the rules, cut holes in the door plate here, so that safety services can actually get to my carcass in case of any sort of incident. And I don't know why I have to do it, but it's in the rules, so I guess I'll have to do that. That's tedious and boring, so I'm not gonna bore you guys with that. So I'll just get that done, and then we'll get back to work on hanging body parts. And it's going well so far. Aside from the fact that, I'm now over 2 with this drill, because it broke not only the bit off, but pretty much all the teeth and my wrist again. So that means I'm not doing this anymore, and I'm probably just going to go take that saw off, draw a template, and use my plasma torch with stuff jammed in behind it so sparks don't go flying into my new seat, and just cut them that way, because I'm done with this. Nothing like taking an art, turning it into a piece of poop. I guess Mr. Bean would be proud if this was Whistler's mother, I guess. But either way, I'm just going to throw a coat of paint on there and pick these hot little discs up and get right back to work on putting the body back on that I just had to take back off again because I couldn't reach in here to do that. And then hopefully get down the side of this thing and continue because we got to get this dang thing done. Coming along slowly. I got it kind of pieced together. It's not quite perfect. I gotta put that bottom bar in, the one that comes from the frame out to the bottom of the skirt of the doors and fenders and then back into the frame, because it not only acts as an anchor point for the doors and fenders and such, but it also keeps it from falling off. And then I gotta put a little stanchion here inside the door from the roll bar up to the top of the door and then back down so that when I sit on it, it doesn't fold the door over. And I'm probably way too fat for that window opening, so I'll probably just go and make a door. Probably not. I'll just squeeze. Figuring out other stuff on the way. This is obviously going to be about here, or it's going to move out a little bit more. I'm still figuring it out. Like, see, that's got to get fastened in. I still have to put a rivet in there, and just all the little stuff needs to be done. But as you can tell, I actively feel like crap, and I think I'm just going to call it for today, even though there's sunlight out, just because I have a pounding headache and I'm sick of it. So I'm going to go back in, and I'll be back out tomorrow for a much longer day. Man, this is coming along pretty quick, but it just doesn't look like it. And I really hate that. The body is just disgusting. Never paint your car white, by the way. If you paint it black, just like everybody else, there's a reason. I used to race black cars and they always looked nice. Then I got a white car and every single fingerprint shows up. All right, back tomorrow. Back again. Hottest day remaining in the year. I'm going to shut my dehumidifier off. And I didn't realize I had a Jimmy Carter license plate in the corner. Whatever. Anyway, I didn't vote for him. I wasn't even alive yet. So we're going to get the sides done on the side of the car. Get the brackets at the bottom for the runners so that we can bolt the bottoms of the car, or the door, onto the car. Hopefully that won't be too much. It's literally 2 stanchions of 1-inch tubing and a long piece down the side of the car. And I'm probably not going to brace a heck of a lot of it. I'll probably put a front and back on it and allow it to dent. That way it won't be too strong and hurt the chassis. So it'll be easily replaceable because you could just take and cut it off and put a new one on. So anyway, we're going to get to work on that. I've noticed that there's a few little things I got to fix, but overall, to get the car on the racetrack, we're really only missing that and the nose and the front bumper and a whole lot of lead. So we're going to get this thing going. I got to get under there. This is an uncomfortable job, and it's, of course, the last 90-degree hot day of the year. After this, smooth sailing back into cool weather. So, all right, let's get this done. I'm looking at all my scrap, and I got to get some measuring and back on the welder.
probably watch the color of my shirt change in real time as I am middle-aged and fat. But it's also 90 degrees out, so I have an excuse. Both bottoms are in. And I even got a little seat so that when it's hot. So when I get in the car, I don't crush the door. And I'm likely not going to fit now because, well, the body's a little higher. So it closed off a little more of the window than it usually does. So we'll see. But that's in. Oh no, I might scratch it. But hey, the reason I put those bars in, and I know it's like, oh, you got to make your... Wow, look at that. That magnet actually works. See, magnets are magic. Anyway, what I usually use is stuff like this. I use one of these and a fender washer. Something very big with a small hole that will easily fit. And I bolt the bottoms of the doors to that bar. Is it a little heavier? Sure. Is it going to stop me from, let's say, getting the door fender and everything ripped off, which I've kind of had happen before in a heat race, where the fender and door has flipped up into my window? I probably won't put the video in there because I'll forget, but that's happened before. I also do this, and you can actually see a witness mark to it, on the back fender into the bumper, and in the front fenders into the bumpers as well. Trust me, it works. You don't have to do it. You can build your cars lighter than me, but let's be fair, I don't fall out of races for a reason. Of course, I exercised on the last 90-degree day of the year and then went directly into the garage to essentially sweat to death. So I think what I'm going to do is just finish riveting and bolting the sides of the car down, and tomorrow I'll come back and we'll get the whole front end figured out. We'll get the bumper on, we'll get the bumper cover on, and then the body's done, essentially. I might have to put some spacers in and bolt something to it. I don't even know. I'm just trying to build the body as wide as humanly possible because I can't pit and I want to be able to finish races. So I'll be doing that the rest of the night. I'll be riveting and doing boring stuff like drilling holes and bolting the fenders and doors on and stuff. And like I said, tomorrow we'll come back and we will finish that nose. Then the body's done. But that'll have to wait until tomorrow because I'm going to go spend time with family. All right, next day. Agenda for now is to get the front nose on and get the bumper done. And once we get that on and done, we can start working on hood pins, hood fitment, I guess. And then body braces. We have to do a couple little body bracing. We have to bolt the front fenders to the bumper somehow. We have to get the rear fenders braced up somehow. Let me go through and just kind of show you what I've gotten done off camera. It's not a completely dingy sconge pit anymore. I did go through last night and I went and riveted everything back on. I built a couple brackets today and I managed to burn myself on top of a burn because I forgot that when I welded this bar to here, which I previously riveted a little 1x1 piece on just to brace that fender up. The rivets got hot and I went like this because I'm stupid and needed to lean on something and right on a burn. So that was good. Burn to burned. Yeah. We have to build a panel here and the same on the other side. I got a couple little smaller spots because the door does come all the way to the bars. And I got to build a panel where my exhaust pipe outlet used to be for the Thompson setup, but I got to cover that off for the Stafford thing, which is probably not going to be too difficult. Maybe I have a spare piece. Actually, I don't because I got rid of all my scrap. So I don't have a spare piece I can't just cut off. Now the bumper, unfortunately, this is made to fit the other car. I'm just going to take my plasma torch and hack off as close to the bumper as I possibly can and then not grind it. And do you know why? Because this is going to be slammed into other cars and then eventually cut off and put a new one on. So it's not going to be an art project. Oh, but if you grind, you'll save yourself a weld bead in weight. And it's like, that's not worth it to me. I just want to get the car done. I don't care. So we're going to hack all this stuff off. I've got some bumper mounts here. And I figured out that with the body being a little bit higher, the bumper's got to be a little bit higher, because on a stock frame car, what I used to do is put it right there and we're good to go. But considering the body is a little higher and the bumper needs to fit properly, I'm just going to put them there. I might space them out. I might just go straight up with it. I don't know yet, but we have to cut everything off, set those in place, get everything squared up, maybe even clamp the nose on to get an idea of where that's going to sit, and then adjust where these are going to be from there, and then keep going. I really wish I didn't leave the radiator in here. That's just a variable I really don't want to deal with. But either way, that's what we're going to do, and that's the major thing we're going to be working on. Front bumper is in. I'm not showing you guys the rest of it because you'll ridicule me for how I build my bumpers, but I don't really care, because I don't like falling out of races because I didn't build my car strong enough. We got to put the front bumper cover on. As you can see, it's dark out, and I'm gonna go inside. I still got a couple more days to work on this thing this week, but all we really have is a coat of paint and some rivets, and the front end's gonna be on, so that'll take me an hour or two tomorrow, and then we can start working on like body bracing in the back. And even that's not going to take too long because I already have the parts. So we got a plan. Let's execute that tomorrow. All right, next day. Agenda for today will be affixing the front nose and hopefully the lower air dam to something, anything, and seeing how that fits. My main concerns as of this moment are, is the nose too high? It won't be too difficult to adjust that. It'll essentially require me taking the nose off, which is just rivets, and then having the car at ride height and figuring out where it's supposed to go, maybe popping a few rivets except for the top ones on the fenders. That way you can just kind of swing it down into place, but it looks like it's way too high. But I don't know. So I think we're at the point where this needs to happen, and then we're going to work on getting the hood put on. But at the same time, I really kind of want to put the car on the ground and figure out what the heights of the body is. I'm not worried about the sides because, to be fair, the side skirts, I built the lower like bar, the I forget what I call that. The lower body brace, I guess, down the side of the car. I built that exactly to the bottom of the frame and square, and the bottom lip of the body at the rocker panel is kind of even with that, so it's basically at ride height. I know I kind of wanted it a little longer on the right, but it is what it is. It's going to pass tech, so that's all I really care about. But the nose, if it's too high, well, air matters even a little bit, even in what is essentially a brick. And I'm going to try to get that down at least to what the bare minimum is. That can all come later, but for right now, I'm just going to take this thing and throw a nose on it and hope that it fits. I know it fits, but I hope that it sits in the right place. And then after that, hood, and then some body braces in the back, and body's done. And I hope that we can actually have the body done today so that we can start putting this car on scales and start figuring out ride heights and weights, because clock's ticking. And I really need this thing on track before I have eye surgery again. And I know that we're going to be in some issue with getting these front springs to be at height, because I know these cars are, I think, even a little bit different than the factory cars. So I think the spring buckets sit lower than a factory car. So getting the heights on that's going to be a difficult task. But I think that if we get this body done today, which I think is possible, then we can move on to that as quickly as possible and we don't have to delay. And that's what we're doing right now, is kind of delaying. So I got to get going. Being motivated right now is kind of difficult, but just because, you know, when you're doing something and it feels like it's taking a long time and you just don't know how to make it go faster, well, the only way to make it go faster is to do it. And that's what we did here. We literally made hood pins, like, you know, them fancy looking aluminum ones. Well, I did something a little bit different. What I did was I had a 1/2-inch aluminum rod hanging around, and I cut them into lengths like this. And then I stuck them in the vise, and I threaded a tap over it so that I actually have, and then I, you know, made my own hood pins. I got sick of tapping them because they're 1/2 inch. I got sick of tapping them at fine thread because it took too long, so I just put coarse thread on there and used the nuts for that. So we got all the hood pins in. I got the hood deflector on so the hood doesn't blow off, because trust me, that's happened. Not to me, but a car I kind of built. I'm going to duct tape over this old hood pin hole because I moved the pin out. It was a little bit easier to do it that way. I really don't enjoy doing all this stuff all at once, but you know what? I enjoy racing. And how are we going to get to the track if we don't get to work? And that's exactly what we've been doing. I just remembered I got to put pins in the rear of the car. Whoops. So we're going to be doing that. I'm going to do that the much easier way, which you'll see when I finish it. And please don't think less of me for it. That's not possible. I don't think anybody could possibly think any less of me. But we're getting it moved along pretty quickly here. Basically, I got to put hood pins in the trunk, get those 2 in. I only got 2 because the front's on a hinge, so what's the point? Then I have to put in, well, I got to affix the windows, but I got to do that after I put seat belts in, which is also on the list. But I also got, the one last real thing I have to do is this. There's a little panel in here that's kind of missing. So I got to just create a little crushed panel here. I've already got the design in my head. Problem is I'm going to have to paint it before I put it in, but that's fine. We can paint it tonight, put it in tomorrow. Then we don't have to worry about it anymore. And then this thing is real close to going on the ground. I got to do the front duct work, which kind of stinks, but that's, if I really want to do something fast, like, and get the car on the racetrack, I can just make it out of cardboard and duct tape and it'll work. But I'd really rather make it out of plastic and make it nice. I've still got a couple weeks before I want to try to get this thing on the racetrack. And we're really hustling to try to get this thing done. So, oh, and I got to make a rocker panel. I forgot that cutout is still over there. So I got to do those things and keep plugging away. It's becoming a table again. It's coming along though. I got a bunch of this stuff fixed, and I got the front nose done. I got the hood on and bolted down too. This is a little sloppy. It's not loose. It's just a little too much in the way of gap, I guess you could put it in there. It doesn't look bad. Like I said, I just reused all the holes that I took the body off with. It shined up okay. I did put a new panel here. You can see the wet paint. That should help keep a lot of the rubber out of the car, and if they want to inspect the right side door bars, they can tuck an eyeball into there and see it just fine. So the interior tin, with the exception of two little slivers on that corner and that corner, by my hand and by my seat, are still a little missing. I still got to put the windows in, like I said before. I got the stuff out here to make some little brackets so that I can kind of bring the fender out just a hair, you know, and put some bracing in there. I got a whole bunch of these that I bought and then never used, so I figured I'd use them up now. Good enough for a late model, good enough for my quarter panels. We still got to bolt the body to the bumper. Not a big deal. I still got to make another little panel there, but it is so late. I am really tired. And you can probably hear in the background, because I didn't reach for my remote, that Stafford is on flow right now, and I'm watching that and working currently on my car to go there, which is kind of funny. So I'm just really tired. I've been on my feet out here since I got home from work, and I worked all day, and I am slowly fading into the ground, so I think I'm going to call it. I'll be out here tomorrow morning because I actually have the day off due to a holiday, and I will be able to at least finish up the body. And once we get that finished, this car in the next video will be going on the floor on scales, because there's going to be a lot to deal with there. Hopefully even the week after that, maybe we'll be on the racetrack. We'll see. But I'll see you tomorrow.
Next day, it's nice and cool morning. I got the day off from work due to a holiday, so that's pretty sweet. So I can get a few hours of work done on this before I gotta go for a prior engagement. So I'm gonna finish up a few of the little crush panels. I'm gonna try to get some body bracing done in the rear, and we're gonna see what we can get done. Hopefully, fingers crossed, the entire body will be done today. That way, for the next video, we can start off by next video, we can start off by putting this thing on scales. And that's a huge step forward, because that would be, gosh, almost a week ahead of what I had planned. I'd planned to be at Stafford about a couple days, or the week right before my eye surgery, because it's on a Monday. And I had planned to be there the Friday before. But this means this car could be on scales and at the track next week if we hurry. But I don't want to hurry. That's the thing. Maybe we'll take our time next week and get the car on scales and get it completely hashed out, bolted together, strung, every single thing looked through, so that we're not rushing, and then take it that week. But watch it rain that week. That would be my luck.
I had to make a few adjustments off camera. The air cleaner that I had on was a little too tall, so I brought her down so that the rules will be applicable, I guess, if I can say that word. You got to have the windshield sealed off to the hood, so I had to do that real quick. Had to adjust some of the hood pins and junk. I got this in my hand because I'm going to take this and start putting the body back together in all places. Mainly, I'm going to take my old quarter windows, give them a good wipe down, and I'm going to use this Plastex to do it. I'm just going to do it by hand because, well, I can't get a buffer in on the inside where I scratched this window. And I'm going to try to clean the windshield off, make sure that's good to go. I need to do something about this paint, but we'll figure that out at some point. Like I said, you can take it and scrape the garbage off of it, so I don't really know what to do about that. Also, I got the body braces done in the back. I forgot to mention that. I took a couple pieces of aluminum and some old telescopic body braces that are, I think they're like $8 a piece at left-hander. And I put them in, and I'll show you those too. Excuse my feet. But you can see I tied it into the bottom of the frame with a nutsert, and I put it out to the body with this aluminum angle iron. And I'll tell you what, it is pretty sturdy. Ow. Ow. Okay, I dislocated my kneecap. So that's pretty sturdy. Did one on the other side as well. So the body is fully braced. I gotta tie in the front though. I just forgot I had a little piece over by the air dam in between the nose and the fender that I gotta tie that in or remove it. I'm not sure quite what I want to do with that yet. I also have to affix the bottom of the air dam underneath the radiator, and I'm a little bit worried that the radiator is too low. So when we get the car on the ground, I'll take a look at it, and if I have to hack the supports, push the radiator up and re-weld it, I will. But as of right now, I just tried to make it lower than the intake filler neck, and I think I made it a little too low. But as long as it doesn't rub on the racetrack when I drive into the corner, I'm pretty sure it's okay. At the same time, I don't want it lower than the nose because the nose has to protect it. So I got wheels on. They seem to be good. This is all just mock-up stuff, just because I want to be able to put it on the ground at some point, check heights. But as of right now, I'm working on covering up the rest of the holes in the chassis and body. Like I said, we're polishing windows, and we're putting in those final little crush panels that I've got over here on the corner. And I'm trying to put away my tools. My welder is in the way, and I can't get through here. You know, I was gonna put new quarter glass in the car, but I got all my old wind stickers on this one, and it's kind of sentimental. It's off the old car. I want to kind of keep it, so we'll see if we can add to it. Otherwise, this window is on Zeus fasteners. That goes in after I put the seat belts in. I got to put 2 crush panels in at the corners. I don't know if I can see that, but right here, there's a little spot where there's a hole. So I don't want anything getting down in there. So we got to fix that too. You know, I completely forgot about this. I got to clean the car out. It's all dusty and fingerprinty and footprinty and all sorts of garbage. Let's get that out of the way. I forgot this panel, and I don't know where it is. Like, under... Oh. Duh. All right, well, I'm going to have to go wash this off and paint it because we got to go throw that in. I kind of wish I'd done that before I put the doors on, but they left that out because when they built the car, they said, oh, well, it might be easier for you to reach in and get to your seat belts, but I can reach them from up here, so it's really not too big a deal. So I guess I'll just paint it and throw it in. I'll paint it outside because I'm already pretty wasted on paint fumes right now because I was doing some touch-up work, and I'm kind of feeling it. So let's just get that done. I'll get that painted while I work on these windows and polishing them up and getting stuff cleaned up. Came out all right for an old piece that's been scratched to every which direction. This came out much better than I was hoping. Obviously it's still not good because there's still some stuff down here that let's drop it on the metal encrusted floor and then do it again. Yeah, that might come out. It seems to be coming out, so I might have to give this windshield a good buff, but I'd have to probably take it out to get the inside because the insides would scratch. But it's really not that bad otherwise, so it just kind of came clean. As for me, I've run out of time. I was looking for just little stuff to do to fill out the rest of this video, but it was all stuff that needed to be done anyway. And, well, like I said, I got other obligations going on today. I'm glad I even got to come out here and do a few more things to get the car completely set and ready. It's not completely set and ready though, but we're only a couple of little minor things away from being able to put this thing on the ground, and that is exciting. I think the only thing remaining is cutting those 2 little pieces for the crush panels that I have to do those filler gaps, and just front radiator ducting. I'm looking around and I'm like, that's it. Besides seat belts, this thing can go on the ground. So I got to put springs and shocks and everything in it. So it's going to be a completely involved process to get the ride heights right, to get the right springs and shocks. I got to do the sway bar mounting holes, and I'm really glad I've given myself at least 2 more weeks to get the thing ready, and I'm going to need them because there's a lot more work that needs to be done, and it shows. So it is what it is. I got to go get ready to go to New York. We're going to Mr. Dirt USA at Lebanon Valley. Going to go take in some racing instead of being part of it for once, and that'll be exciting and fun, and we'll have a good time. Hopefully it doesn't rain. Anyway, that'll be a few hour ride from here, but thank you all so much for hanging in there with me. And wow, this has really been a journey, to be honest with you. I've never had anything new before, and I think I told you last few videos ago, or at least a few times, that we haven't had a new race car for the family team in 2002, 22 years. Haven't had a new car. Never had a tube car like this one. And we've only ever really raced kind of used stuff. I wouldn't call it junk because we've all won with what we've had. It's just not as good as it could be, but if we're gonna put all our eggs in one basket, we might as well put it in a big one. And hopefully this thing can see the racetrack within the next couple weeks, because we need to get on the road and we have to get it done before I get these done. So again, thank you all for hanging in there. Thank you to all the new people who've subscribed. Thank you to the people who've been here for a long period of time. If you know anybody who might be interested in this sort of thing, please tell your friends. I got a lot of work to do in the next couple weeks, and please consider subscribing, because we're almost near that 1,000 mark, which will get us up over the hump, and maybe we'll start getting some pennies from Google. That'd be pretty badass. I'd really appreciate that sort of thing, because any income coming to this car would help a ton. And if I can share what I do with you guys and entertain people along the way, then that's exactly what I want to do. And so thank you all again. I appreciate it. We got a lot of work left, and until next time.